sometimes the greatest opportunity you'll ever receive arrives quietly, disguised as an ordinary moment on an ordinary day. And the tragedy is not that we miss it because we are unaware. The real tragedy is when we see it clearly, hold it in our hands, and still let it go. Because we think we're too smart to act now, too clever to say yes today. But time does not wait for the clever. It rewards the brave. Today's story is about a simple laborer, a shiny stone, and a mistake that cost someone a fortune, not because they didn't recognize the opportunity, but because they tried to outsmart the moment. This story will make you question every time you've said, "I'll do it later," or "Let me think about it a little more." So stay with me till the very end, because this one might just change the way you see the next chance life puts in front of you. In a quiet little town, surrounded by dusty roads and open fields, there lived a simple laborer. He had no wealth, no land, and no big dreams. Every morning, he would wake up before the sun, pick up his shovel, and walk to the edge of town where the earth was soft and loose. He would dig the soil, load it onto his old donkey's back, and carry it to the market to sell. It was not much, but it was honest work, and it kept food on his table. One hot afternoon, as he dug deeper than usual, his shovel struck something hard. He reached down and pulled out a stone, bright, shiny, and unlike anything he had ever seen before. He turned it over in his rough hands, admiring the way it caught the sunlight. "What a pretty rock," he said to himself, smiling. He didn't think much of it. After all, what would a man who sold dirt know about precious stones? So, he tied it around his donkey's neck with a piece of old rope, like a little decoration, and went on with his day. The next morning, as the laborer walked his donkey through the village streets, a wealthy grocery merchant sitting outside his shop noticed the stone sparkling in the sunlight. It was impossible to miss, the way it glowed and shimmered, even from a distance. "Where did you get that stone?" the merchant called out. The laborer shrugged. "Found it in the ground yesterday. Just a nice-looking rock." "Would you sell it?" "Sure," the laborer said, not thinking twice. "Give me 50 rupees and it's yours." The merchant smiled and paid without a word. He took the stone inside his shop and hung it on his old brass weighing scale, right where everyone could see it. It looked beautiful there, catching the light and turning slowly in the breeze from the open door. Customers came in, admired it, and talked about it. But nobody knew what it truly was, including the merchant himself. To him, it was simply a pretty decoration, a conversation piece, nothing more. Weeks passed. Then one afternoon, a jeweler from a nearby city walked into the shop to buy supplies. The moment his eyes landed on the stone, his heart nearly stopped. He stepped closer. He squinted. He held his breath. It was not a stone. It was a diamond, a rare, magnificent diamond, the kind most jewelers only hear about in old stories. He tried to stay calm. He asked the merchant about it casually, and then, choosing his words carefully, offered to buy it. "How much do you want for it?" the jeweler asked. 100 rupees, the merchant said plainly. Now the jeweler knew the diamond was worth a fortune, lakhs, maybe more. 100 rupees was practically nothing. But greed has a strange way of blinding even the sharpest eyes. Instead of paying the price and walking away with the deal of a lifetime, the jeweler began to bargain. 80 rupees, he said firmly. Not a rupee more. The merchant shook his head. 100, that is my price. They went back and forth, but neither would budge. Finally, the jeweler said, Fine, I will come back tomorrow. Think it over. And he walked out, confident that the merchant would give by morning. They say opportunities are like sunrises. If you wait too long, you miss them. But the jeweler did not think about that. He thought only about saving 20 rupees. That very evening, fate played its hand. A car broke down on the road just outside the village, and its owner, another jeweler passing through on a long journey, stepped into the grocery shop while waiting for help. His eyes swept across the shelves, the sacks of grain, the brass scale, and then the stone. He walked over slowly. He picked it up. He held it to the fading light of the evening sky. And in that moment, he knew exactly what he was holding. He turned to the merchant. How much for this? 100 rupees, the merchant replied. The jeweler did not argue. He did not hesitate. He reached into his pocket, placed the money on the counter, and said, Done. He left the shop that night, holding a diamond worth more than the merchant's entire shop, perhaps more than the entire village. And he never looked back, because he understood something the first jeweler did not. Opportunity doesn't knock twice. The next morning, the first jeweler returned to the shop with a pleased smile on his face, ready to negotiate once more. But when he looked at the weighing scale, the stone was gone. Where is the stone? He asked, his voice rising. Sold, the merchant said calmly. A man came last evening, paid 100 rupees, took it and left. The jeweler's face went pale. His hands trembled. You fool, he shouted. That was no ordinary stone. That was a priceless diamond. You sold it for 100 rupees. The merchant looked at him quietly for a long moment. Then he said, Maybe I am a fool. I didn't know what it was. But you knew exactly what it was worth. And still, you argued over 20 rupees. So tell me, who is the real fool here? The jeweler had no answer. He stood frozen, staring at the empty hook on the scale where the diamond had hung just hours before. In trying to be too clever, too stingy, too calculating, he had let a fortune slip through his fingers for the price of a cup of tea. All of the earth's treasures can't bring back a lost moment. This story carries a truth that touches every one of us. How many times have we delayed acting on something important? A decision, a conversation, an opportunity, thinking we had all the time in the world. How many times have we let our own cleverness or our need to squeeze out a small advantage cost us something far greater? The laborer lost a diamond because he did not know its value. That is understandable. But the jeweler lost the same diamond because he did know its value and still chose to gamble with time. Regret of neglected opportunity is the worst hell that a living soul can inhabit. This story teaches us 3 important lessons we must never forget. First, do not be stingy in every matter. If you try to save a tiny amount everywhere, you may lose something far more valuable. The jeweler knew the diamond was worth a fortune, yet he haggled over just 20 rupees. and that small greed cost him a treasure that could have changed his life forever. Sometimes holding on too tightly to what's small causes us to lose what's great. Second, do not miss opportunities. Overthinking, excessive bargaining, and trying to act too clever can make you lose chances that appear only once. The second jeweler didn't waste a single breath negotiating. He saw the value, he paid the price, and he walked away with the diamond. Life rewards those who recognize the moment and act, not those who stand there calculating while the moment passes. Third, do not delay your actions. The best time to do important work is now, because even a one-day delay can mean losing a life-changing opportunity forever. The first jeweler said, "I'll come back tomorrow." But by tomorrow, the diamond was already gone. That one night of waiting turned his greatest chance into his greatest regret. Life does not always give second chances. You can't rewind time, but you can refuse to waste the next chance. The opportunities that appear before us will not wait forever. Opportunities don't vanish. They simply move to the hands of those who act. Do not let greed, overthinking, or the desire to always have the upper hand rob you of what matters most. Do not wait for a better moment when a good moment is already standing right in front of you. And never forget, the heaviest regrets are not from what we did, but from the greatness we never dared to try. As someone once wisely said, most do not understand the wonderful opportunities life gives until they look back at their life.